Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today is Friday. I thought we'd keep it a bit more casual, keep the reading a little lighter, and go over the remaining two SCRs that are coming out in set 16. I did a video for Vegeta because that one got revealed a while ago, I think like right before or on Christmas. So that one's got its own video, but the remaining two SCRs in set 16 are what we are going to talk about today. We'll talk about their applications, their usefulness, compare them to other SCRs, stuff like that. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there are many ways to do so down in the description. But today, guys, if you're looking for custom sleeves, playmats, even foil playmats, use the link in the description to yourplaymat.com. Not only will that link get you 10% off your order, but their sleeves are awesome quality. They are art sleeves that don't peel, so I don't have to double sleeve them, and I love that about art sleeves because I hate shuffling double sleeve decks. But anyways, guys, let's get into the video. Alright, so firstly, we're talking about Super Mira Diabolical Fusion. We have a 4-drop yellow Unison. So this is not the first 4-drop Unison SCR we've seen, but it is the first one for yellow. But it also works pretty well in black because the activate main, pay 4. If your leader card's a black android card, play this card from your hand with 4 markers on it. So that basically just allows you to play this in Finn decks and in Mira decks. Finn is probably the more feasible one because there's a more updated Finn support, as where a true Mira leader, we haven't gotten one in quite some time. I'm a little bit surprised though they didn't make this playable in Toa leaders as well. That's definitely pretty surprising because normally like black android stuff also works with Toa. But anyways, let's read all the keywords here. We have ultimate, dual attack, blocker, empower, yellow 3/black 3. So again, keeping it on theme where you can play it in yellow or black and move some markers over to it, which is kind of nice because if you have a Unison established, you see here there's a -4, and you can use that all in one shot, unlike a Unison SCR like Gohanks, for example, who has to build up a couple markers over a couple turns depending on the scenario if you want to play him for only his initial 4. Because that's one of the weaknesses of like an SCR that's a Unison, is that there's no real way to, you know, stack another marker with another copy of itself because you can only play one in a deck. So that's a little bit awkward. But anyways, as for the auto, we have +1 when your opponent attacks, switch this card to active mode. So theoretically, you can go about this a couple ways. You could attack with it twice and then just, you know, rely on the auto to restand it and allow it to block one of the following attacks, or you can swing with it once, it'll restand itself via dual attack, and then you can block, trigger the +1 auto to then you know, be able to block a second attack later on. So 2 ways you can go about that. And there's been a lot of cards like this recently that are like these either dual attackers or dual blockers, and they're very, very good cards. I like them a lot. I've always liked Goku Hit. I think there's one in set 16 that we talked about recently, and then obviously this SCR is also going to act like that, which is just a very good flexible skill to have, so that's solid. And then we have activate main -4, choose all your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier, KO them, and then choose up 2 of your opponent's cards, switch them to rest mode. This card gets +5, 15,000 power, and double strike for the turn. So you're becoming a 40k dual attack double striker that also just wipe the entire board, ignoring barrier, I might add, which is nice. Then you can obviously tap 2 energy or tap any number of blockers, basically anything getting in your way to go for game with this card. And that is nice because, again, because of the empower ability, you can actually use that as soon as you play the card if you're able to, from having Unison established prior, which is kind of nice. And then as well, you know, if you do that, you're able to use the +1 on the following turn, and this card can also provide you some defense. So the card is really nice. The card can be crazy offensive power when you play it, and then subsequently it can follow up turn after turn after turn by continuously restanding itself and blocking. And it's gonna be very hard for your opponent to get this thing off the board unless they have like Space Time Unraveler or some way to just clear Unison by an effect, which isn't really too prevalent. So this card is neat. But again, the conversation always comes back to these super generic SCRs like Space Time Unraveler and Pan Time Patrol Maiden. It has to be a very convincing argument to play this card, which requires such a strong and heavy investment over those cards. One deck I can see this seeing pretty good play in is Golden Frieza, for example, the deck that me, Marcus, and Danny took to Nats. I have a profile here on the channel if you guys want to see it from probably a month or 2 ago at this point. But that deck plays the Machikabura 4-drop yellow Unison very, very well because the leader can restand 2 of your energy after playing a 4-drop Unison. So that is a really great place to play a Unison like this. But I gotta say, for other yellow and black android decks, I think it is going to be a lot of a tough sell because you're going to be tapped out after playing this for the most part. Maybe you have your Awaken, you can untap 1, or maybe untap 2 if your leader still has that ability. But it's going to be a very tough sell because while this card is strong defensively, you're going to be losing out on a lot of the rest of the energy you may have needed for other negates, for Mecha Freezer, Robotic Riposte, for Power over Super Saiyan. So fully tapping out for this is going to be a pretty tough sell, and I don't think that many yellow decks are going to lean towards this. Again, when they're leaning away from Pan or Space Time Unraveler, but I still think it's a solid SCR and a card that I'm going to want to have after set 16 comes out. I'm going to try very hard to get this card because I think it is good. Again, it's playable in a deck like Golden Frieza, maybe a few other select yellow decks. If you have any ideas for where you'd play this card, let me know in the comments below. But anyways, let's move on to the next SCR. Next up, I want to talk about Supreme Kai of Time Brainwash. Now, this card's pretty cool because it is a different take on an SCR we have. At least I say that to say that it's somewhat similar, but does some different things, obviously. So we have an 8-drop 40k black SCR Ultimate Double Strike Servant. So if you guys need a quick refresher on Servant, it gives the battle card 10k additional power, but the battle card cannot be restood during your charge phase. So this is actually going to be the first 50k SCR, if I'm not mistaken. That's kind of insane. The first SCR of that power level. Even the Victory Strike SCRs only reach up to 45k, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, activate battle, pay a black. If you have 3 or more energy, play this card from your hand. So very, very similar to how you would play Space Time Unraveler, except it costs an actual black energy instead of any color energy. Then we have activate main / battle for 1 of any color. If your leader card's black and you remove this card from the game until the start of your next turn, your opponent can't attack with battle cards or unison cards unless they choose 1 card in their life and place it in their drop area each time. That's kind of wild. So this is where this card really differs in comparison to Space Time Unraveler, which is obviously the main card we want to compare this to because they're so similar both in, character and in what they do, how they get played. It's just the activate main / battle is where the big difference comes. So this card is essentially a floodgate card, and I believe it's the first of its kind to say your opponent has to crit a life to attack. Maybe there's some card that's sort of similar, but this card's crazy. Obviously, this card's meant to be used in black decks, or at least decks that splash black, but most decks that splash black as like Overwhelm, they don't typically charge black, so this is going to be mostly for your mono black types of decks. And the floodgate ability that it offers is really cool, and it's very different than Space Time Unraveler because Space Time Unraveler provides you with a board wipe, but if your opponent's able to like reestablish a board, I don't want to say that Space Time Unraveler didn't do anything, but it's not going to help you while your opponent is reestablishing that board. It's not going to stop those flurries of attacks from that newly established board, right? Brainwash kind of says it doesn't care about the board your opponent already has, as well as anything your opponent might continue to invest in the board, because if they want to attack, they have to crit a life, and they only get to attack with their leader after Brainwash is activated, which is kind of a cool thing. So I can definitely see some serious cases where you'd want to play Spring Kai Time Brainwash, but again, only really in a mono black deck, as where Space Time Unraveler is playable in any deck. So I think that Spring Kai Time Brainwash is going to see some play when it comes out in mono black decks. I even think it's very seriously considerable playing in Gogeta Xeno or any Gogeta Xeno themed deck, but that kind of leads me to say that even with these new SCRs being as solid as they are, it's going to be very, very hard to convince the highest tier of competitive players to play them over Space Time Unraveler or Pan Time Patrol Maiden. I just made a comparison where I can definitely see Brainwash being played in Gogeta Xeno, but honestly, Pan is probably the better SCR in Gogeta Xeno, mostly because you're always going to be able to spam enough of a board to make Pan a free 40k attacker, and it offers a similar floodgate ability to Brainwashed in that it prevents your opponent from attacking with battle cards the rest of the turn after it's played. So definitely some pros and cons. Pan being free is probably going to give it the edge in that specific deck building scenario, but still very good SCRs coming out in set 16. Overall, set 16 looks very strong, which I'm very happy about, because set 14 and 15 were pretty much blunders. They weren't very good in most respects. They had some decent SCRs, I'll say, but they weren't so good in terms of like the main archetypes, and set 16 is looking to definitely fix that up. So anyways, guys, I want to know what you think in the comments below about these SCRs. What decks are you going to be playing them in? Are you going to be playing them at all? Would you play them over Pan or Space Time Unraveler? Let me know. Once again, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.
Alright, now that you guys finished watching that video, they should have never banned fucking Child's Wish. They shouldn't Super Shine was the best deck in the game. Super Shine was the best!